Demetrius Andrade is a very awkward guy to fight. Tall, gangly, hits hard with both hands, and leads with power shots. In the ring, he vaguely resembles Snoop Dogg. You ever see that video of Snoop Dogg hitting the pads? That was one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen in my life. Utterly bizarre. But Andrade might look a little bit like Snoop Dogg in the ring, but he fights, obviously, a lot better, throws punches a lot better. But there is, again, a slight sloppiness, wildness to his shots, especially when he goes looking for a fighter. When Andrade is boxing on the back foot and allowing the fighter to come to him, he can look a bit neater, a bit more compact, although sometimes he can be wild on the back foot as well, but he tends to be more wild when he's on the front foot, when he's hunting an opponent down. He throws looping shots. Now, the commentators were saying that the looping shots are by design to get round the side of the opponent's guard, to catch them from outside of their field of vision, and so on. And that might be true. I do get the feeling as well that it's not always by design, and that that's kind of the default way in which Andrade will throw his hard shots is with a loop on them rather than throw them completely straight. So that's something which could backfire at some stage if he's in there with a real good counterpuncher who's sharp enough to either beat him to the punch or duck them looping shots and then counter with their own. Could backfire on him at some point. And indeed, when he fought Liam Williams, there was moments there where he had a lot of trouble. Now with Jason Quigley, he got blown out in 2 rounds. He looked totally shocked after the first knockdown, which I believe was from a right hook. Looked completely shocked in sixes and sevens, never really recovered from that shot at all. I don't know whether it was the concussive effect of the shot alone, or whether it was also the psychological aspect whereby, again, he was just shocked by what had happened and he couldn't get comfortable again in his own mind to be able to box the fight he wanted to box. And also the fact that Andrade was hitting him hard from both sides. He was throwing hard left hands, and he was also throwing those right hooks, which were hurting Quigley because Quigley looked like he didn't know which way to move. If he moved to his right, he was getting caught with right hooks. If he moved to his, if he moved to his left, he was getting caught with right hooks. If he moved to his right, he was getting caught with left hands. So he didn't know which way to move, and he was on the outside against a guy with longer arms than him, a guy who's more explosive on the outside and throws shots from awkward angles. So in retrospect, and I know hindsight is always 2020, it probably would have been better for Quigley to apply educated pressure and keep Andrade on his heels. I mean, even though Liam Williams lost and he lost soundly on points, he did have his moments. And that's because he was applying pressure. So I think Quigley might have been better off doing that. And of course, Quigley is taller and rangier than Liam Williams, at least as far as I'm aware. In fact, we can check Quigley's stats here. Well, yeah, he's 6'1" with a 71-inch reach. So he's taller and more rangy than Liam Williams. So him applying pressure is a bit different than Williams applying pressure. Maybe if he comes forward behind the jab, he can rock Andrade back on his heels a little bit and get him flailing with those wide shots. Then again, perhaps not. I'm sure Andrade is just a better fighter all round. But if you want to give yourself the best opportunity to win, even if you're not going to have, let's say, a 40% chance of winning. Let's say you have a 30% chance of winning if you apply the tactics I just described, rather than a 10% chance of winning if you fight the way that you did on the back foot, allowing Andrade all the time and space in the world to load up and hit him with the kind of shots that he hit Jason Quigley with. Like I say, Quigley really didn't recover after the knockdown in the first round, at least not to my eyes. He seemed shocked. Then in the second round, Andrade came out, closed the show, and got rid of the guy. So, good performance, but Andrade is very frustrated at the moment. He hasn't got the kind of fights that he wanted to get when he signed with DAZN. He's getting out fairly regular. If we look at his career here, when did he sign with DAZN? I think it was 2018, wasn't it? Katendokwa, I believe, was his first fight with DAZN. So he fought once in 2018, and that was October. So that was the back end of the year. In 2019, he fought a couple times. 2020 only fought once. 2021 he's fought twice. So that's fairly decent going, considering, what we all know happened in 2020. Uh, it's decent they even got out once, right? 2019 twice. So for a world champion, getting out twice a year is about average, isn't it, for world champions these days? So he's got out twice this year, but he wants the big fights. He wants the Charlos, he wants the Golovkins, he wants the Jaime Munguias and so on. Now, I did hear some rumor, or I read about some rumor, I don't know if there's any truth to this, that Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy will be parting ways with the zone in the new year. And if that's the case, then that's one less middleweight Andrade will have any kind of chance of fighting, because as long as Munguia remains on the zone, you would imagine that the Andrade fight would be easier to make and more realistic. If Munguia and Golden Boy go elsewhere, let's say they sign with Showtime or whatever, or ESPN, then, well, in fact, they're not going to sign with ESPN, are they? Because I believe Top Rank have an exclusive. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they don't have an exclusive contract with ESPN. I'm not sure. But let's say they go to Showtime. Is Andrade really going to be able to get that fight? Andrade might have to leave the zone in Eddie Hearn. He might have to go over to PBC. If that's where the fights are, if that's where the opportunities are, he might have to do that, because it's not a personal thing. It's not about hating Hearn or liking somebody else. No, it's just about making the best decisions, business decisions for your career. Andrade's 33 years of age now. He's not getting any younger. You wouldn't imagine he's going to get any better from this point. So he needs to get a move on, and he needs to make a drastic decision right now, if need be. I would say if Eddie Hearn can't prove that he can get Andrade where, because Eddie Hearn's even saying in interviews that he doesn't know what else to do. I mean, that's not a good sign. And he's saying this openly in interviews. He's saying this to Andrade, and apparently Andrade's dad or his mom was talking to Hearn about what happens next. And Hearn saying, I don't know what to do. That's almost Eddie Hearn's way of saying, if you want to leave, you can leave, because I can't do anything else for you. So, whatever the case may be, I hope Andrade manages to get his opportunity against the big name, because he is a talented fighter. I know, as I've already said in this video, that he can be sloppy at times and looks awkward in the ring, but he's effective with it. Andrade was a very good amateur. He fought Keith Thurman, I think beat Keith Thurman a few times in the amateurs. And, as a pro, he hasn't put a foot wrong yet. 31-0 undefeated. So I think he is a little underrated, actually, by boxing fans. People tend not to like his style and say he should have got rid of this guy, should have got rid of that guy. I do think he is more effective than people realize. And I think even if he fights a Charlo, a Golovkin, Munguia, even a Canelo, he'll do better than people expect. I'm not saying he's going to beat all those guys, but I think he'll do better than some people, or a lot of people, expect. That's my view. I mean, I've always said that for my money, Andrade is better than Billy Joe Saunders. And again, one of the things which makes Andrade so awkward, apart from his speed and explosiveness, very long limbs, is that he does lead with power shots. It catches you off guard. This big, gangly guy, and he can lead with power shots. He can lead with uppercuts and all this kind of thing. And I also think that he can punch quite good. I'm not saying that he's a devastating knockout artist or anything, but because his shots come from weird angles and they're fast, and he starts fast as well. Andrade is a guy who catches a lot of people cold. We've seen that time and time again. He'll catch people cold because he starts real fast in the early rounds. And he is a sharp puncher. So I don't want to say he's a devastating puncher, but he's a sharp puncher. And if he catches you early when you haven't warmed up to taking the shots yet, you can end up like Jason Quigley, getting taken out. Because normally he'll drop guys early and then they'll manage to survive until the late rounds where he stops them or he wins on points. But in this instance, nah. He wanted to seek and destroy and make sure it didn't get dragged out to the later rounds. So hats off to Andrade. He did what he had to do. I just hope that whatever decision he makes next in terms of his career, I don't know how many fights he has left with the zone or if he's working on a fight-by-fight basis with the zone and Eddie Hearn. Whatever the case may be, I hope he manages to get the kind of fights worthy of his talent. Yeah, the Munguias, the Charlos, the Golovkins, and so on. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And, well, one more thing. Chris Eubank Jr. that might be a fight that Andrade would consider because it could be a money fight. Let's say Chris Eubank Jr. fights and beats Liam Williams. Let's say he does a better job than Andrade did. I'm not saying he will. I'm saying hypothetically, if that happens, perhaps Eddie Hearn brings Andrade over to the UK to fight Chris Eubank Jr. It could be a money fight. And at the end of the day, that's what these fighters want. They want money as well as legacy, of course. So anyway, leave me your thoughts in the comments below.